Erica, you're very welcome along to the Lead Well podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm delighted to unpack your life as a founder. You obviously worked in a family business before you founded your own company as well. So I think there's a really nice story behind this. But one quote that I love when I was doing a little bit of research was one of your regrets, you said, was you didn't actually start your business sooner. And that's not something we hear very often. So would you bring us back to that time, 2017, when the idea, the concept for Babogue was born? Where was your mindset? What pushed you to explore this passion?
So I, as you said, have come from a family business background. And I guess I always had that want, that graw, that itch that I wanted to scratch, to work for myself. I had grown up with it. I'd been reared with it and I loved it. And I was in a job that I actually really loved and I was really good at and passionate about. But I just had this, I wanted to do something. So it was actually in 2015, I had a light bulb moment where I had just had my third child, Patrick. He's now 8. And one of my really good friends had had miracle twins. And I had helped her with her twin sleep. And her husband jokingly said to me, Erica, you should be doing this for a living. And that's where it started. It was literally just a passing comment. And I went home to my husband and sat down with a notebook and wrote it all down. I still have the notebook on my shelf in the office at home where I could maybe have sleep at the core and other parenting supports around it. But I was like, how am I going to do this? I'm a builder's daughter from Cavan. And yes, I have a primary degree and a master's and all this lovely life experience. But how do I become knowledgeable, maybe an expert about child sleep? And I went off and I spent 4 months researching, different courses to take, different programs that I could be involved in. And I landed on one out of the US run by the Family Sleep Institute, which is backed by a very well-known pediatrician. And I decided to go with it. It was a year of training, online training, before online classrooms were really a thing. Post-COVID, we all know them, but then they weren't really. So I was 3 children, holding down a full-time job, logging into this classroom-based virtual classroom, twice a week, all the additional reading and everything, and life. And did that all through 2016. And in 2017, took the jump to launch Babogue quietly. I did launch it quietly. And I put the feelers out in terms of working with families one-to-one. I put the feelers out around staying in people's houses overnight to help them with their children's sleep. And in 2018, I worked with referenced a high-profile kind of client, and they catapulted it for me because they told everybody they knew that it had changed their lives. And when I got to September 2018, I was completely booked out. I had left my full-time job. I had decided I was going to do this solo, full-time. I was going to save one non-sleeping family at a time, one by one. It was a terrible business model. And I went for it. And that feeling I got from just taking the leap was fabulous. And I never, ever got that from any job I ever held down for anyone else. That just, I'm going to fly here. And I felt great. And I knew that it was the right thing for me. And I do wish I'd given myself that feeling sooner.
What I really like as well about what you've said and how you've described the journey is that it was born out of a passion, and then you were still working full time somewhere else. And as you say, you kind of quietly launched this business to see if it could gain some traction. And then once you knew, actually, you know what, I've got something here, you had the confidence then to say, right, I'm going all in. And, I love the expression kind of, burn the boats, you've fully committed to this. You're going to really give it a go.
Yeah, I amn't really the type of person that can do anything by halves. If I'm doing something, I'm doing it 110%. that sometimes leaves me feeling a bit frazzled because I'm trying to do everything 110%. But I knew that if I started Babogue and started to commit to it, then I wasn't going to be able to give my 110% to my full-time job. And that job really needed that. And I could just see the pathway ahead of me, what this could potentially be, what I could get out of it. And I just went for it. And with what I had experienced on my first child sleep, he's now nearly 15, but that was awful. And I really didn't want anybody else to experience what I had experienced. And that really drove me forward, because nearly every parent, mothers in particular, that I met was a version of me back in 2009 when I had him, just not themselves, lost through sleep deprivation. And by the time I would finish up working with them, they were getting themselves back. And that, I just loved that feeling, and knowing that my passion, my expertise was helping somebody in such a valuable way.
And can I ask you, obviously, really good product, but there's only one of you.
Yeah.
So tell me, how have you been able to reach, because I'm looking here and I see, could be even more at this stage, but, over 4,000 families across 35 different countries.
Yeah, it's 37 now.
37. So I take it that that's not you going to all those 37
No.
countries. So tell us, how have you been able to take that idea as a business and actually grow that idea?
Yeah. So by the end of 2018, I was driving to a family in Wicklow to go and see them in their home. At that time, I used to do that. I don't do it anymore. And I was in the car. I was like, God, I'm so booked out. I can't take any more people. My revenue's completely, packed. I can't expand this any further. This is not a good business model. So on one side, family business background, I should know this. But on the other side, it was experience in business that made me, kind of go, God, I've not set up a good business model here. And I rang my sister-in-law and I was chatting to her about it. And at the same time, I had launched a suite of videos on Instagram. Instagram was really fundamental in the growth of the business. And video at that time was huge on Instagram. The, IGTV stories, they're not there anymore. It was replaced by Reels. And people were eating those videos up. Just, please do another one, do another one. And it was the 7 steps to better sleep, which is the core of everything I do. So over the course of 7 weeks, I launched a different video and it was like, this is amazing. So I was talking to my sister-in-law about how I could monetize those videos, because people were saying these videos are changing my life. People were saying this has completely changed sleep in our home. People were, sending me messages on Instagram asking for support. I've watched your videos. Can I just ask you one question, please? And I was like, how can I make this into a business? So chatted it out with my sister-in-law, and I decided that I would go to my local enterprise office, to Jackie McNabb, who's the head of it in Kildare. And I pitched her the concept of what is now the Sleep Series. So the Sleep Series is a suite of on-demand, video-based, educational sleep program that gives parents everything they need to know about their child's sleep within a particular developmental age range. And they can, watch it in their own time, and they can make their little plan, and they can make their decisions themselves about what fits within their parenting style and what they want family sleep to look like in their home. But they can also go on to a private community, which is currently hosted on Facebook, but that is going to change. And they can get support. So they can go in there and they can ask a question. They can do it anonymously if they want about the sleep. And I will come in and I will answer the question, or other members of the community will provide their peer-based support as well. And that has been described as the secret sauce, that the gold, that they're getting support. There's lots of people out there who have sleep programs, sleep courses, and that's it. It's the support element. Definitely the structure of what I've created is very easy to follow. It's a toolkit. You just keep reaching back into it. It will put you back on the right path. But every baby and child is individual. Every household is individual. And it's important that you get the opportunity to have your individual questions answered. So I launched that in November 2019 with the support of the local enterprise office with a priming grant. And it flew. It absolutely flew. Now, I had asked my following on Instagram. At that time, it was about 5,000. What do you think about this? I had used, them as kind of like to survey them, to test the waters, to see about the feasibility. And, the response was overwhelming. Yes, please produce this. Nobody else in Ireland had done this. And yeah, I launched it. And, look, COVID hit very quickly after that, and we all got stuck in our houses. And people got the opportunity to take time maybe to work on their family sleep picture where they hadn't had time prior to that. And that time was very good to me, very, very good to me. But again, I've learned some lessons in terms of how I even launched that side of things. It allowed me to, get out from working with one family one by one and to get, my way of doing things and to get my profile and get my business into thousands of houses. And there's like thousands every year, kind of adding on to that, and that's been amazing. That really, really launched Babogue and established it.
And I'm really curious around, you spoke about like lessons that you learned at that time. And just from your own mindset, like you've obviously got something that's really successful initially, the initial model. You kind of reach a point where you say, right, if this is going to be sustainable long term, I need to be creative. I need to innovate what it currently looks like. What does that process look like for you, even say today? Are you still thinking, okay, how can we now take it to the next level? Like you talked about the community aspect being the goal and how you've got something planned for that. Are you always thinking about how you can fine tune that product, that offering?
Yes, like I've continued to add to that product over the last number of years. I started out with this just covering newborn up to toddler. Now it includes an older child program for 4 years to 10 years. Then we added in specific modules for, twins. In the community, I'm adding in other experts on other aspects of parenting and testing the waters in relation to how my customers, take that. Do they want that as part of this product? And also looking at the platform that I currently host, the programs on, I'm across a couple of platforms that are, tagged together as many, MVP start, right? And how can I invest time and money and expertise into maybe developing my own platform to take what has worked, which is the program, the sleep series, the community aspect, but also adding in other aspects. Like, is there something to be gained? And I feel there is in terms of like potty training, weaning, all these other pinch points as part of the parenting journey that, my customers are now going outside of the Babogue platform for help with. But what about if I brought them in? And what about if I created a membership recurring revenue model rather than that one-off payment that is happening at the moment? So they're definitely the aspects that I'm continuing to work on, but also the lessons that I've learned from starting out. I did start out initially going, buy once, unlimited access. I've changed that. But that did help me to build a tribe, a following of amazing women that have helped spread the word. And they've been such a great support of the Sleep Series and Babogue. But over the years, I have changed that. The access at the moment is between 6 months and a year, depending on which program you go with. And like 20% of them go in again, they buy again. So it's just around tweaking things from what you learn. Nobody is going to start a business and have it all figured out. Like, have I looked at my business plan that I created 6 years ago again? No, it's completely different. They're chalk and cheese. I have grown and changed the business through learning and making mistakes and going, right, that was a valuable mistake. I need to learn from that, and I need to change something, and I need to move on.
You know, when you have a mistake that really kind of, hits the ego a little bit, how do you say in a real pragmatic way, we got to take the lesson from that, apply the lesson, keep moving forward, versus, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see that?
Well, I do that. Oh my God, Erica, like what? I do that. And then usually what I do is I go for a run. I'm a runner. And I usually spend the first 30 minutes giving out to myself. And then I spend, the balance, whatever I'm doing. If it's a long run, it could be another hour, working it out. And then I usually come back and go, right, I've now given myself the cold shoulder and given out and whatever. But if I sit in that, that's going to do me no good. I'm going to be anxious, and I'm actually then going to lose my confidence and lose my bottle. And I maybe need to just chalk it down to experience, seek some advice from trusted advisors, and move on.
Excellent. And I'm definitely going to unpack a little bit of, those resources that you leverage, like mentors and support networks, as we go through our conversation. But you mentioned it there. You talked about, your daily routine and how aspects like running are critically important for your mindset. One thing I really liked, and obviously it's you walking your talk in a lot of ways, you spoke about starting your day with family time and making that a priority for you, not being dragged towards the emails first thing in the morning, which, and again, as a founder myself, I find when I have days where maybe I start my day where I have breakfast with my wife, those days are different. Now listen, that can't be every day. Some days you're up, you're out first thing in the morning and you're into the office. But I often find that if even two of my days that week are breakfast with my wife before I start the day, I just start that day in a completely different mindset. So speak to me a little bit about that resource and the priority of you starting your day with time with the family.
Yeah, agreed. Everything you've said there resonates deeply with me. My biggest bugbear is mobile phones. I love them, but I hate them. So I actually start my day by having the phone downstairs. It's plugged in the kitchen, charging overnight. It doesn't come anywhere near bedrooms, so I can't look at my emails first thing in the morning. I will generally start my day with some level of exercise, be that yoga or a run, now that it's getting a little bit brighter, or, some kind of workout. I've set myself up in the house to have that in the house. And when the kids get up, the phone goes into the press where the cups are. So, and I'm not perfect. I'm human. There are days where I am like, I'll have a quick look, and but like you said, on the days where it stays in the press with the cups until the children are gone to school, my day rolls differently. And equally, on the days where the alarm clock goes off at 6 and I get my ass out of bed and I go and do my workout, or I stand outside for 10 minutes of morning light, my day rolls differently. I'm having a really busy week this week, and I'm not, doing what I say I do this week. I haven't done any of that, but I know by the time I get to Sunday night, I'll really need it. So I've already put time into my diary on Monday morning that I will go for my run and I will get it in, and it will happen when the kids are gone to school. So I'm diarying out an hour, it's actually more, an hour and a half, to get that run in and get that headspace before I embark into another busy week and just start on the right foot. Definitely when you keep with routine, our bodies thrive on routine. They love routine. So if you keep with routine, and definitely limiting your phone time, I think, is a massive one, particularly to start your day, and engaging with people. We, as human beings, engagement is actually what we need. And I think we've got slightly distracted, with the way things have evolved with technology. Even though we're more in contact, we're actually not engaged. And actually engaging, looking at people in the eye, how is your day, and actually listening, where are you going, what's on today, what match do you have? My daughter has a running competition today. All those things, best of luck. those connections are just way more important than anything else that's really happening.
Yeah, you've hit on a lot of really important topics there. And even the last piece that you mentioned, I speak a little bit on this podcast. I'm doing a master's this year in organizational psychology.
Wow.
And my thesis is focused on basically interviewing CEOs and speaking about some of the topics we were speaking about, leadership behaviors and well-being and performance. And actually one of the CEOs that I interviewed talked to me about something very similar to what you just said, is that whatever they're doing at that time in the day, they are the only way they can conserve their energy as they go through their day, and obviously the role, the commitments, the responsibilities. They're fully committed and engaged in what they are doing. So if that, as you say, is with the kids in the morning, they are fully engaged in that.
Yeah.
If they are meeting somebody for a one-to-one, nothing else at that point in time matters, only that person that's across the table. And they said that's something they've had to really work on, but it's critical to their energy management. So they're not thinking about 5 things when they should only be thinking about 1.
Oh God, I want to be that person, because I'm definitely guilty of that whole thing of trying to do like 5 things at the same time. But I know when I properly engage in one thing only, the outcome is far superior. So when I put the phone into the drawer, when I put myself on DND, and like the phone is the biggest bugbear. It really, really is, because it's constantly going between, Instagram and TikTok and, emails and, WhatsApps and whatnot. But when you put it away, the outcomes are just fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody should take that time away. Turn off your phones in the hour prior to bedtime. It's game changing.
I couldn't agree more. I always get the fright on, the Monday, you get the update on your screen time. You always look and go, oh God.
My updates actually have consistently told me recently that I'm doing less than the previous week, which I'm very, very smug about.
Another thing you mentioned, Erica, was you said you're having a busy week this week, right? But you've blocked time on Monday to get your run in. And like, just as an example, one thing I find people, and this isn't just founders, this is people in general really struggle with, is the acceptance in a way that I may have an idea of what a good week looks like. And then let's say, for example, I'm busier than I expect and I don't get my exercise, or I don't get my family time, or we tend to be extremely critical of ourselves. We feel guilty. And as you've even touched on briefly before, all of a sudden that negative emotion can eat away at our self-efficacy, our confidence, etc. How important is that ability sometimes just to be kind to yourself, to accept that everything's not going to be perfect, but then be action orientated and be able to, as you said, plan for next week?
Yeah, to get out of your own way. I've definitely suffered from perfectionism in the past, and I'm definitely a people pleaser. There's no doubt about that. If you had asked Erica in her 30s how she would feel about her week not going perfectly, then she probably would have been very, very critical. Erica in her 40s is now very accepting around life is life, and life will happen and it will get in the way. And when you're juggling a business, a home and 3 children, that's going to happen. Like on the way here, my husband rang to say the school had phoned and he was collecting the youngest from school. He's sick. This is life. So for me, diarying, like putting it in my diary of what I want my week to roll like, is important, because it keeps me accountable and it keeps me on track. But also that acceptance of, it may not actually go like that. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean that you're not trying. You are trying. But when you do get the opportunity to maybe get it back on track, don't be in your own way. Get up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed, go and do it. I'm a big believer in that. If you want to be the version of yourself that you want to be, then you have to live like it. And if you want to be clear of your emails, you have to go and do it. If you want to, run the marathon, you've got to train. If you want the successful business, you've got to do it. If you want to spend time with your children, you've got to do it. But you can't do everything. Nobody can. And that's definitely the life lessons I've brought forward. Like, when I say that I wish I had done this sooner, Erica in her 30s and Erica in her 40s are reacting very differently to maybe the same problems. I'm able for more now with maybe a decade more behind me, and I'm kinder to myself. Not always,
Yeah.
but I'm definitely a little bit easier on myself. Like, you've had a busy week, sit down. You don't need to go, down to the gym and do anything. No, you've not done anything all week, but that's okay, because 80% of the time you're really trying, and just keep that up. That's fine.
You said there about, Erica in her 30s versus Erica in her 40s, and what you've gained in that decade of being able to be more accepting, kinder to yourself. How does that translate then to how you operate day to day in terms of your business?
I'm definitely much calmer. I'm not as reactive. I had curveballs this week, and I maybe Erica a decade ago would have reacted and like gone, oh my God, this is like terrible. Whereas I, just went, okay, I've got to think about this. How does this impact me? How does this impact the business? Who can I talk to for advice? I've loads of friends with great professional capacities that are more than willing to give me 10 minutes of their time when, I need it. And I did that. I picked up the phone and I talked it out with somebody who's worked with me in Babogue, but is also a good friend. And I was able to get clarity. I probably wouldn't have been like that, a decade ago. I'm less reactive, and that stands to me. I tend to sit in things and give myself permission to sit in it and think before I react. And if somebody, and maybe that's I worked in event management for a long time, so I think that because you can't react in events, you have to be like a swan. So I definitely have brought that forward into my founder journey, that whole thing of, okay, what's happening on the surface, and what can I do quietly to maybe smooth this out, get clarity on it. That really helps me. And I definitely wouldn't have done that 10 years ago.
It's a really nice message. I love the quote, which is from Viktor Frankl, which is the whole idea of, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And that's your space where you can gain some clarity. But I found when I was in early years running a business that space was very, very short. So like you, I would react. I would try to solve the problem before actually looking and thinking, am I actually solving the right problem here? Am I getting enough perspectives on this? Because again, we find ourselves a lot of time in the vacuum of our own thoughts. And it sounds like you've implemented a lot of practices, strategies that help you to lengthen that space between whatever the stimulus is and how you're going to respond to it.
I think parenting teenagers has actually really helped me with that, because teenagers react and they shout and they, like the end of the world is happening right this second because, you forgot to do something. So you have to press pause, because if you react back at them, it's just going to be like, an eruption, and there'll be no good coming out of it. So that definitely for me, that resonates, that pause moment, think about it, then say something or do something. And that pause doesn't have a specific length to it. It could be days. It could be 24 hours. Well, not with teenagers, but, it could be a minute. It could be a second. It just could be a breath. I've definitely found breath work, meditation, pauses in stressful times. And I just think that life generally is quite stressful at the moment for everyone for lots of different reasons. And taking that time to pause and breathe gives you clarity.
I couldn't agree more with that. Bring me back a little bit to your experience of working in your family business and what you were able to take from that, which still stands to you today, running your own business.
Yeah, as I was saying to you earlier on, I kind of worked in the family business from like 9. When you're when you have any kind of family business, you're reared with it, and you, whether it's a shop or whatever, you end up doing things from a very young age that, it'd be too expensive to employ somebody else to do it. So like you get trained up, and that definitely gave me confidence, in terms of like, I can throw my hat at anything, but also taught me that you have to work. you have to get out of bed. Like my father was gone every morning at 5:30, and he wouldn't be in until late at night. And that's not a woe is me. What I saw was a very hard-working man, and that, in order for us to have what we had, you had to work. You had to work hard. And definitely for me and my older brothers, I know they'll agree with this, it really instilled a work ethic in us all. We love a bit of crack, don't get me wrong, and we work hard and we play hard. But the work thing, you get out of bed and you get it done. And I can see it in my nieces and nephews and in my own children. They understand the benefit and the outcome of what you put into it. This is what my old principal used to say when I was in school: what you put into it is what you get out of it. That's definitely one of the biggest things from having that family business background, that you just have to do it. How
do we pass that on to, you mentioned it there, Erica, like your own kids? Obviously, the world today is a lot different to what it was like when I was growing up and you were growing up. And you hear a lot of people talk about, and I hate saying this, but a lot of people say, the next generation in the workplace is the snowflake generation, which I just think is completely wrong. That gets, obviously, it gets so much, I suppose, time in the media, etc. Because I would have a lot of people in that generation who are incredibly effective in my own business. But how do we start to maybe instill some of what you're talking about? Would you have any advice for parents who are thinking, how do I instill that kind of hard-working mentality in the right way in my children?
I think we have to make them work at home. That's the first place. Like I have a policy, I'm sorry, you don't get €1 every time you empty the dishwasher. You live here, you empty the dishwasher. And I only had this conversation with the children at the weekend. We have a family meeting. When things are getting a bit discombobulated, I pull everybody together. And that happened this weekend. I was like, lads, I need your help. I need you guys to step up here. Like, stop saying no to me. You've got to clean your rooms. You've got to make your bed. Their wardrobes are always so messy. You've got to clean your wardrobe. You've got to put on a wash. You've got to power hose the driveway. Like, I think that's the first place where children learn how to work, and I think there's this maybe a little bit of a move towards, like we employ other people to do all these jobs. But like, if you've got 5 people in your household, you can get a bit of power hosing done and you can weed out the garden just between the 5 of you. Now, obviously not when you've small kids. I've older kids. But getting them working, like I used to have the children, cleaning out the car from very young. Now, they would do a terrible job on it.
But it's
just that thing of getting them doing it. Empty the dishwasher, make your bed. Like, even if it's literally just that they've pulled the sheets up on the bed and it still looks terrible, it's just the act of getting it done. Put away the clothes. I don't put my children's clothes away. I put them all into like piles associated with who it is, and they put their own clothes away. I put the basket of socks at the top of the stairs. They take out the socks. They have to do it themselves. And my husband has his own business. My eldest fella is going to be going in there this summer to lend a hand over the summer. It'll be office work, but that's where it starts. Answering the phones, photocopying, clipping things together. And my daughter, who is 12, she'll be 13 soon, I'm working an event all this weekend. She's working it with me. Brilliant. She's coming. She's going to pack boxes. She's going to carry things. She's going to go get me a coffee. She's going to go and get the lady at the next stand a coffee. She's going to be a runner. And I think that is how they learn. It starts with us. And we have to be brave enough to let them empty the dishwasher, even though they might break a plate, or like that the bed is not going to look perfect, Instagram fabulous, it's just going to be fine. And to tell them they have to clean the room and that they're not going to get paid for it, or that they're not going to get a Revolut, or that they're not going to get I think this thing of, I do this, I get something has become a big part of that generation's culture.
Instant gratification. Yeah.
Instant. Nobody waits for anything anymore. You order it on Amazon, it comes tomorrow. So I just think that getting them into that rhythm of you work because you have to, and that's it. Like, I never got I don't remember it. Maybe I did. Maybe I'll be corrected. I don't remember when I went in to answer the phones, getting 20 quid at the end of the week, or 20 pounds. I don't remember if I did or if I didn't, but I remember feeling great for doing it. And that feeling is what has stood with me. That thing of, you feel good after a hard day's work. You don't feel good after sitting on the couch playing the PlayStation the whole day. I know when I take my eldest outside and we work together, cleaning things up in advance of, a family party or whatever. Initially, he's like, I don't want to do this. And he's gripping and he's complaining and whatever. And then we put on a bit of music and we've time together, we talk, and he always feels great after it. Initially, it is a pain in the hoop and he's complaining and he's wrecking my head. But if I stick with it and I do my breath and I pause and I don't react, now I'm not perfect, sometimes I do, then we actually have a bonding situation. Brilliant. And he feels good after it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that the next generation of kids is missing, that whole feeling good about themselves because they've applied themselves to something.
Intrinsic versus extrinsic.
Yeah.
It's so, and that's what I think, and that's why I asked you on that question, just to give us your insight, because I'm sure when you said about younger generation instilling those kind of values, I'm sure a lot of people's ears pricked up a little bit and they were thinking to themselves, oh, I'd love a bit of advice on that. So I appreciate you giving us a little insight on that as well. And I think you're right. I think, today's society, the kids, everything is so external validation. And it's dangerous in a lot of ways. Yeah. If it's not matched with, I think, the right amount of maybe internal validation that, as you say, the joy we get from cleaning the car afterwards or having that bonding time with a parent. And there can be a lot of resistance there initially from the children. But as you say, afterwards, they do feel that sense of achievement. It's
the same resistance when you start a project yourself.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't face this. I don't want to do it. And then, it's like eating the frog. You have to do it and you do it and you feel great after it. And it all starts with us. You're never going to get that complete feeling from anyone else or anything else. It starts with us inside. That's where it begins. And I think if we can instill that in our children, and it's not more things and stuff, coming into the house that is going to give them that complete feeling, then we're winning. Then we're doing a really good job.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about last year. You were nominated for an SFA award. Obviously, that process, the supports that accompanied that. And I'd love to know a little bit about what resources you leverage, because as an entrepreneur, it can be, we talk about it a lot on this podcast, it can be a lonely road to travel.
Yes.
So tell me about maybe the experience of the SFA awards, what supports you kind of were able to leverage, and what other supports and resources you leverage to keep you motivated and energized.
Oh, so many. I'm a great one for an application. Somebody else said that to me, Erica, what do I do about this? Who do I apply to? I'm a great one for that. I applied for lots of awards that year and was nominated and into finals for a lot of things, very, very luckily. But SFA stood out by 100,000 miles. It's not just an award application, it's actually a mentorship program that, if you get shortlisted, you get access to Mentors Works, which is thousands of hours of topics that you can digest that are going to help you with your business, but also individual mentorship, which was, I just thought, the lady that I got anyway, and I got a few actually, I got 3, but one lady in particular, it was that get out of your own way mindset and just make this happen. And it just was exactly what I needed to hear. And I just found also the events that they ran alongside the awards gave networking opportunities and profiling. There was a huge spread in the national press. They did a brilliant, social media campaign around it. We got to, film and talk about our businesses. We got to link in with other businesses. And that's what actually helps you grow knowledge base and interacting with other people. So I would highly recommend the SFA. Dave Broderick and his team are doing a brilliant job. I'm still a member. And although I didn't win an award, what I got out of it was fantastic. And I'm still in contact with them about different aspects of the business now, even a year on. But like, as I said, I'm a great one for an application. The local enterprise office, if anybody is starting a business or even has an itch that they want to scratch, I think the local enterprise office is the best place to start. The Kildare local enterprise office were really fundamental when it came to, Babogue's journey. And, I will always say this, Jackie McNabb, backed me, and she put, money behind it in terms of that priming grant. And, would I have gotten the sleep series off the ground? Yes, I would have, but it would have been slower. And they do so many different events. They're always doing training programs. There's the Start Your Own Business, which is a great place to go as a first step. But like, I've done the 3 phases of New Frontiers, which then led me on to applying for the Competitive Start Fund, which is part of, the Enterprise Ireland remit, which we got. Mm. And that resulted in, a 10% investment by Enterprise Ireland into Babogue. So I'm an Enterprise Ireland invested business, and they continue to support Babogue. Even just at the moment, one of the projects that I'm working on is feasibility around, new development in the business. And they have put their money where their mouth is, and they have supported me financially with the grant, but also with ongoing mentorship. I can pick up the phone to my DA, my development advisor, at any time, and she'll be able to say, no, you're maybe not eligible for that, but you are eligible for this. And they can open up the doors to lots of ways that you can grow globally if that's what you are looking to do. I think, to say that not every business has to grow globally. Yeah. Lots of businesses will thrive amazingly within the island of Ireland. And the local enterprise office is the best place to start by far. And leverage as much free PR as you possibly can, and apply for every award, like everything. I have also applied for the Network Ireland Awards, which is, a female entrepreneur, a female networking group. And I got the National Award for Emerging New Business, but I started out by just applying for like the Kildare one. And I didn't think I'd get it at all. That's the truth. I was applying because, again, get out of your own way, push yourself out of your comfort zone, do it. It was at the tail end of COVID. It was 2021. And I actually couldn't attend the award ceremony for Kildare because I had my child's birthday party. And they rang me the day before going, you have to come. I was like, why do I have to come? Erica, just don't push it, but you have to come. So we ended up doing like an outdoor ceremony, and I was totally bowled over, and I won that award. And then I went on to win the national, which was so validating. Yeah. When you apply for any of these things, be it grants, be it awards, anything, you're not going to get everything, but you'll get something out of the process. Yeah. You learn something, or you'll get feedback. I always ask for feedback. So why didn't I get it? I was up for a speaking event very recently, and somebody else got it. And I asked, why? I saw it on social media that they had given it to somebody else. Why? Why didn't you give it to me so that I can learn something? And they were really glad that I asked. And in the end, it was the difference between X and Y. It was so simple. And I probably couldn't have done anything differently. But at least I know. So I think apply for everything, but I'll go back to it again, start with your local enterprise office. It is, for me, the best place.
Time and time again throughout this conversation, your character really is shining through. This idea of seeking feedback, not taking it as a negative, being able to use it to move forward. Obviously, that's critical in the work that a founder of any business will have to do. I also think I like the sentiment around applying for awards to get validation in a way. Not that we need it, right? But it's nice to be able to be recognized for good work that we're doing. I have a mentor to me who, very early on said to me that, the path that you're going to travel, Mark, he said, always remember that there's going to be very few people who are going to come up and pat you on the back and say, well done, you're doing a great job. And not only that, he said, when you grow your business and you've got people in your business, they're going to expect pats on the back and to be told that they're doing a great job. So then it becomes even a bit more difficult because no one's coming up saying to you, well done, you've done amazing here. Or you do have to naturally try to either seek good mentors or, as you say, apply for different awards to validate the business plan. But also I'd be curious to ask you, what role does a peer support network play for you, considering that you are in a small business, right? How much do you leverage other entrepreneurs in a similar situation to help you on your journey?
Oh, massively. Massively. I do leverage into a lot of female entrepreneurs, I'll be honest. And I have met so many wonderful women over the years by attending local enterprise office events and going back to that again, networking events. Network Ireland is amazing. It's a great place if you are starting out in business. If you're a female founder, go to an event, you're going to meet other women. And again, I'm very much a heart on my sleeve kind of person. If you meet me, you'll know whether I'm in good form or I've got something on my mind. And I will generally share, like rightly or wrongly, I'm really honest about that. And I find by leaning in, by sharing what's going on with me, somebody else will go, oh, well, I experienced that and this is what I did, or this is what, this is who I spoke to. Like Babogue is trademarked, and the only way I got that trademark was because the first trademark failed, the application failed. And I shared it with somebody. To be honest, I don't even remember who it was, but I shared it with somebody and they gave me the name for an amazing trademark person, a woman, and she got my application over the line. And I only would have found that person if I had shared. And I think that's the biggest thing. Lean in to people that you feel maybe safe with, but you're not going to be safe with everybody. You're not. Like I'm definitely Marmite. You either love me or you hate me, and that's fine. And I'm grand with that. I'm over that. I'm not here to please everybody. But the people who get me and I get them, we support each other and fantastic things happen. And I've even only examples of that this week, where bit of a whirlwindy week, and group of women came together, we talked it out, we supported each other, and now we're all grand and we can move on into the next week with a bit more confidence under our belt. And some of us with, oh, okay, well, I know what to do about that problem now. So I just think leaning into other people and network your backside off. Nothing is going to happen from your laptop in your kitchen other than sending 100 emails that don't get answered. And those emails do need to be sent.
Yeah.
But you've got to, politician, press the flesh. You've got to go and meet people. You got to look at people. And yes, our virtual way of doing business is brilliant and it opens up doors. Like I spoke to somebody in Australia last month, amazing. But meeting people in person, there is no substitute for it. That is how you build relationships. That shaking of hands that maybe turns into a hug, that turns into a coffee, that turns into a business relationship or a referral. Oh, well, I know somebody can help you that. I know somebody who can do that. And I just think that's the way the world best works. And the best way of getting yourself out there is to get out there physically.
Not sit behind your laptop on Sales Navigator trying to find the right person on
No,
LinkedIn.
I have somebody else doing that for me at the moment. No, definitely getting out.
Yeah.
Look, we're not that long out of COVID. We're not that long out of a time of our lives where we couldn't go anywhere. Now we can. So it's time to get back out there again. And I think a lot of people lost their confidence around getting out there over those couple of years. But it's time to get out of your own way and just book one event. And Go and talk to the people who are talking to each other at the table. Just go, hi, can I join you? And away you go. And the worst thing that they can say is no, and that's fine. Go on to the next table. But I've only learned that by doing it, and I've gained a bit of confidence around that.
It's like that exposure therapy. You do the first table. Okay, the second table's a bit easier. Third table becomes easier. Next event becomes a lot easier. I think that's, again, a nice message for anybody founder, looking to get a bit of notice for their business, is that, yes, some people, it naturally comes, more comfortable to them. But I think for us all, networking can be tough. It can be difficult. It can make us feel anxious. But the more that we do it, the more articulate we become. We're able to then approach those tables and not have the fear in the pit of our stomach if we get rejected. So
I'm a big believer in feel the fear, but do it anyway.
I like that.
Yeah, like nerves are a normal feeling. Anxiety, within reason, is a normal feeling. Feel the fear. Yeah, you probably won't eat your breakfast that day, and you're not going to feel great. But if you want this thing enough, you've got to do it. You've just got to do it. And if you don't, then the thing mightn't happen. Do you know?
So two final questions, Erica. The first one, I'm just curious, and I'm sure listeners are, what is the plan for Babogue the next year, 2 years? What's the 3-year roadmap look like?
So looking at redeveloping the platform so that I'm not using 3 different platforms and having one platform of our own that is automated and talking. There's a lot of manual processes behind the scenes at the moment, which isn't ideal when you're on your own. Adding in more sleep consultants, because I am only one person and I cannot service the needs of 5,000 people. So adding in more bodies in that respect, but all with the same, certification as me, and with the same, feeling about sleep, the same kind of ethos. That's very, very important, because that can differ. And also adding in more experts from different avenues of parenting onto the platform. So really kind of creating a parenting hub where people can thrive, where families can thrive. Focusing in on the recurring revenue side of things and growing the B2B aspect of the potential of this business. That's one of my big projects at the moment, is testing the feasibility of that and going out and speaking to companies about how, sleep deprivation that's related to, child sleep challenges is impacting their employees, making them aware that it's actually an issue and can they see it. So talking to them and developing a business model that services their needs, because that's going to be slightly different to the B2C side of things, which is where my bread and butter is at the moment.
Oh, yeah, and I could imagine there's a massive market there and critically important. Again, probably a topic that impacts parents in the workplace so much that is probably not spoken about. How many hours sleep did you get last night? Like, it directly impacts how that person can perform. But yet, is there supports, is there resources within the workplace to actually help them? And is it even spoken about? Well,
even are the supports and the resources actually what they need? So lots of companies have amazing supports and resources in place. Flexible working hours and those things have become very much the norm. But is that actually what the parent needs? Maybe do they need, the education? Do they need the access to somebody to talk to about it, the problem solving? No amount of flexible hours is going to help a child sleep. So it's really about giving the parents the solutions, maybe via their employers, that can help them to get things settled at home so that they can thrive at work as well. So really my whole business is about helping the individuals, be that the parent, the child, the employer, thrive. That is all about thriving. And that's what it comes back to. Because when I was struggling with sleep, I was not thriving in any way.
And I think what you've mentioned there is something I hear time and time again, as in, you think of all the different life stages that are in the workplace and how well-being benefits or supports, they're generally kind of a nice broad brush of things. But actually, we tend to miss out on a lot of the cohorts that need specific supports at a certain life stage.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're moving in the well-being space is, the leading organizations are now seeing that. They're now tailoring those packages so that employees can avail of the supports that they need. So what you're talking about, I think, is something that is and will continue to be critical for people at that life stage within the workplace.
I call it chapters. Everybody has different chapters. So like, a woman who's, starting just out of university is going to have very different needs to a woman in her 50s. But if the well-being supports are generalised, they're not going to fit with either of them probably.
No.
So to support those chapters of our life is really, really important. And I actually think that will help people stay in jobs for longer, grow with their jobs because they're getting the support they need at the different life stages. You've got everything like coming out of college, getting married, having a baby. Maybe you're going to go through a separation and a divorce. Then there's like menopause, there's just everything. All these different life chapters, there's the opportunity to support people so that they can thrive in the workplace and ultimately help the business thrive.
Yeah. Final question, Erica. I like to finish the podcast by asking fellow founders, business owners, if there was one lesson that you could leave our listeners with based on your experience, what would that lesson be?
Always ask for help. Don't sit on it. Don't feel anxious about it. Yes, press pause. Yes, have a think yourself. Think about who within your circle you can lean into and ask them for help.
Thank you, Erica.
No worries. Thank you so much.